Hong Kong and the United Kingdom are going to be the first to face off in finals day for the Hearthstone Global Games. You can see the lineups, both Shaman banned, leaving very similar lineups here, Lorinda. We've got Rogue, Warrior, Paladin.
Yep, Highlander Rogue, Holy Wrath Paladin, Control Warrior for the United Kingdom, Pirate Warrior for Hong Kong is the main difference. So let's see how that works out for them. But yeah, going to be interesting to see how that matches up basically as the Warrior clash. But we're going to start off by the look of it with some Galacon Rogue Highlander stuff.
Absolutely. These were the only two teams, I think, in the top 8 that brought Highlander Rogue, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they face off, especially as there's only 1 or 2 cards different between these decks. I believe we were talking yesterday about how the UK run player mat, and Hong Kong run in its place.
I'm just looking now. That's why I've gone quiet. I'm just finding decks because for some reason I had it opened at the wrong page.
I've got the decks. We were literally talking about this yesterday, and I've already forgotten.
There we go. Hong Kong were playing. They were playing Shark, weren't they?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that was somebody else. This isn't.
Oh no, there was another
Shark
team.
In this deck. So there's at least 3 Highlander Rogues in the tournament. So that's a good start to the day.
Actually, there are a few different things then, because Hong Kong aren't running Necrean Blade, but the United Kingdom are. There's a couple changes there.
Yeah, see how they get to curve the crucial things. Oh, there's no just gonna waffle backwards and forwards slightly here. There's no Cairn in the deck for Hong Kong either, which could be a big deal.
Hong Kong are running a Nubaseth Warbringer.
Oh, okay.
The United Kingdom are not.
So they nearly got there.
They did. They actually did. Yeah.
Still playing mechanical well, but yeah, between these, Denmark, who very nearly got the Possessi build, and Possessi. Loads of people hit the post, but only Japan got it right. But yeah, the Warbringer is a big deal. I think it's the only other one with Warbringer in for Hong Kong. So that could be a massive deal if they can get that going.
Hong Kong are also running Dragon's Horde, the 1-mana spell, discover a legendary from another class. So yeah, a few differences there.
Yeah, which is interesting because we've said a few times when you're playing Highlander decks, you quite often, especially with Galacon in, so a lot of your choice is already taken, you don't really have that much other choice a lot of the time. You sort of have to play whatever cards there are, not quite autocomplete, but when you get rid of the obviously rubbish options, you quite often end up with not much to choose from the Highlander deck builds itself. So to have such differences is quite a big deal.
All right, ball control forced to Zephyrus on turn 2, given there aren't really any other options. So Lorinda, this is going to be another Wild Growth Zephyrus. There you go.
Yeah, they took a Wild Growth yesterday, and it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of 5s and 6s in this deck. So not lots to do on turn 3. Plus you're trying to go toe-to-toe with, let's call it a mirror for the sake of argument.
I mean, it is.
So be a mana ahead in a mirror match when not much is going on early in board control. It's a big deal. Also note that Boar has yet another hat. I think that's 7 different ones. Kind of what inspired me to have a go today with a hat.
Boar control's new thing. Everyone's got to have a thing, right? His thing is now wearing hats.
He's got Billy. Doesn't need anything else. Billy the cat.
Right, so Sealed Fate is available for board control. That is the most straightforward, clean-cut way of clearing up this board. However, playing Sealed Fate would mean passing up on Wild Growth, which is where the complication comes from this turn.
Yeah, they've got to decide what's the chance of actually losing the board permanently. And yeah, they're just going to take it steady with this Wild Growth. Playing it on 4 makes some sense anyway. They get into that 6. They're not going to have a minion most likely for the Faceless on 5. Like next turn being 5 with a coin. So Wild Growth next turn makes a lot of sense. Because you've got to expect this 1-2 isn't going to survive. Worth pointing out, if you're wondering why Boar is looking quite so miserable, the players can see each other on Skype when they play. And so this is Boar Control's best poker face.
I'd completely forgotten about that this week, Lorinda. But yes, I remember you saying a few weeks ago that that was the case. And that's a really interesting way of playing an online tournament, isn't it? Because obviously in real life, depending on the layout of the stage or wherever they're playing, sometimes the players do see their opponents, sometimes they don't. But it's never usually the case online.
Yeah, we actually saw Freddie B in particular talking with his hand over his mouth yesterday.
Fascinating.
Not all the time, not continuously, but when it seemed important, he put his hand over his mouth and was speaking that way, just to stop any potential lip reading. Not that anybody actually speaks Danish, but just in case.
I wonder.
So, due to the Sealed Fate last turn, Ball Control has not played Wild Growth yet, and obviously Wild Growth gets less effective with every turn that passes. There are interesting options this turn. Ball Control could coin out Faceless Corruptor, I guess, if he wants to just put stats on the board. The downside to that is that the Patient Assassin will just deal with one of the 5/4s immediately. So if this is the... yeah, this is the Wild Growth turn. I like the look of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes into Lackey Togwaggle very nicely if they want it next turn. And in a Rogue Mirror with very little removal available, they might just want to get those 3/0 cost cards, get the tempo associated with it, and go at it straight away. Because the only card that can really deal with it would be Zephyrus in some circumstances. Zephyrus not so good on 6 mana for board control. Wild Growths always require quite a lot of planning. Obviously, you are giving up a turn to invest in your future. And that's why they didn't do it on 3. They felt that the board would get too out of control against them if they'd let the 3/3 live. But now they can start being slightly behind, but start reaping the rewards from that. It'll be interesting to see what they choose to go with. With that Poisonous on board, Cairn is tempting. But I think they're just going to want to get this Togwaggle down and get rolling.
Yep. Well, here it comes. And an early Togwaggle does mean some insane plays coming over the next few turns. As you were saying before, there are a lot of slightly more expensive cards in the UK's deck, and so drawing 3 of them that cost 0 next turn could just be make or break for the United Kingdom.
Yeah, they're going to get first go at it, but Hong Kong not far behind with their own version of it.
Also have Galacrond, although they haven't really had any invokes. The United Kingdom do not have Galacrond, but they have had some invokes. So, I mean, if Ball Control draws Galacrond with the wand, then this could be utterly insane.
Yeah, very interesting that obviously when you're playing Shaman, you keep Galacrond in your opening hand. Basically, always, it's what the deck tries to do. Whereas the United Kingdom threw Galacrond away from their opener here, I believe, if I caught that right at the start, because you just don't get the invokes off on time. It's much better later on when you've managed to finally get some invokes going. It's very, very slow, is the rogue Galacrond.
Oh, here we go. Let's see what the wand draws. Evil Miscreant, that's nice. Edwin's very nice, and Vendetta is whatever. But the first 2 cards drawn there, very helpful indeed. That 0 mana Edwin is playable this turn, Lorinda.
Oof. And with all the lackeys they've picked up over the course of the last few turns, this Edwin is going to be pretty gigantic. Checking the deck list. Assume there is sap available. Yeah, there is sap in the Hong Kong deck.
The 2/4 gives any 1-drops played Poisonous, which is just even more beneficial now. If that survives, then that Pirate in the hand that adds more 1-mana Pirates is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Zephyrus might have a word to say about this.
So Zephyrus played on 7, so it's going to have to be Zephyrus into Brawl.
I mean, they can play a lackey first and turn it into potential polymorph.
They could, but that still leaves the 2/4 alive, and that's going to give everything Poisonous.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Wand into Zeph, into...
If they have 2 mana left, I think it gives sap. It gave sap for one of the teams yesterday. Again, I don't know how to force it to give sap.
That's right, that's right. Sap should do the trick. But with 0 mana Zodiacs and 0 mana Eviscerate, Fong should have a way to deal with pretty much all of this. Oh, even Zeph into Earthshock.
Silence or Earthshock, yeah. We have seen Zephyrus misbehave once or twice in this event.
They're going to misbehave that badly. He offers 1/0 mana card, and the one card is the Silence.
Look at this huge turnaround of his turn. United Kingdom, from a position of power, suddenly in an absolute mess of a position.
Honestly, the United Kingdom need their Galakron, and they need it now. Kronks seems a little bit too slow.
Blade Flow, is it enough? No, there's no way to buff it.
It's turns like this that make you miss Vanish.
I will never miss Vanish. I am glad that his has vanished, to be honest.
I wonder.
Ball control could still be considering the Blade Flurry, but needs a more immediate answer. Because they do have Necrium Blade in their deck.
Seeing the power of the Faceless Corruptor now allows ball control to clear up most of this mess.
Yeah, and if they can just hang in there for a turn or two, their hand is slightly better than Hong Kong's. Although Hong Kong are going to get a big Edwin of their own that the Assassinate will deal with, which turns out to be a very good pick.
And they're going to get a reasonable... Whoa, okay! And they're going to get a reasonable Galakron very soon. They've already invoked once. So if I'm not mistaken, and if it has just been once, then the Sealed Fate will be the second invoke, which would mean Galakron draws 2 cards that cost 0. But now Dragon Queen Alexstrasza has been drawn. And that's going to be a turn next turn.
Yeah, somehow Dragon Queen Alexstrasza didn't make it into as many decks as you might expect in this pre-nerfed tournament, basically. I think we're going to see a lot of the card over the coming months, but it is a mighty card. It's basically the main reason to play this deck. You might argue Galakron is, but I think the Alexstrasza is just better.
Choose soon.
Rogue mirrors have always been like this. Kill a thing, play a thing, repeat until one of you can't kill the thing.
Sounds right, but these two rogue decks have a lot of resources and a lot of late game value as we reach the next few turns.
Apothecary will still fetch Mechanical Whelp. I believe that they're only playing Cairn and Whelp in the UK deck.
Yep.
So, you know, the clear looking players assassinate the Edwin and play the Apothecary before you draw that Whelp.
It's okay, but ball control is down to 16 health. And this doesn't do enough to clear up the board. There's 6 damage on board. Fung doesn't need that much more. Fung plays Alexstrasza. Okay. Nothing insane.
No, but it's just value that they need, isn't it? Naught cost anythings are really handy right now.
Yeah.
Combination of value and tempo, obviously.
I mean, I'm saying nothing insane, but I'm looking at a 0 mana 4/5 and a 0 mana, what was it, 5/7?
Yeah,
like...
exactly. Forget that they do things. It's like, that's not the point. It's just, here's some stuff you've got to deal with. And already, I think Hong Kong in the position where all they have to do is play around Zephyrus to some degree, and they're looking like they're going to grind this one out.
I am the storm of your demise.
Choose soon.
Ball control needs a miracle now. Zephyrus has been used already. Maybe his own Alexstrasza can get there, but Siamat is not the card.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Siamat in this deck. I think it's very powerful, even in the mirror, but not right now. It's just...
Even a Ziliax draw would have been fantastic here. Ziliax trade in the 2/5 and then Ziliax onto the 7/7. But this This is a lot of different bits and pieces, and I don't think they get there. Ball control shakes his head.
I get
Yeah, whether that was just saying no to something that dead draw while he's trying to keep this poker face, but Hong Kong 1-0 up in this semi-final match. 2 more wins and they're going to be in that grand final.
Fantastic start indeed for Hong Kong. Again, the remaining decks, as you pointed out earlier, are going to be the OTK Paladin and the Pirate Warrior. So we have an interesting series ahead. Obviously, the United Kingdom, as you've just seen, and a Rogue, but they also have their Control Warrior, which is very much like mainstream old school Control Warrior. And they also have their Paladin. And oh, look, Ball Control has a different hat on again.
Yeah, he's got I think what he's got, I've seen the Bar Humbug one before, but I think he's got lots of different hats and different bands that go around their different hats. Although I think this one is actually connected. So like the elf ears can be mixed and matched with various hats. You can see some of the hats in the background actually.
I can. He
One on
just
the
put them
bed.
on his bed.
Yeah, there's one on the bed. There's also one jammed in the top left of his cabinet.
so
I
many
see you, Ball
options.
Control. I see you.
And Carnivorous Cube is just not impressed with any of the hats at all. Anyway, into this matchup, the Rogue versus the Paladin. And we have seen that the Rogue is the third part of the equation in terms of Paladin beating Shaman, Shaman beating Rogue, Rogue beats Paladin. Obviously, it's far more complicated than that. You have to play the games for a reason. But we have seen Paladin's weakness exposed when playing its Rogue in this tournament of all manners of Rogue.
We have seen, I do want to point out, we have also seen the Paladin win this matchup a couple of times. It has happened. Even this weekend.
Can.
The huge major downside that the Paladin has against the Rogue is the existence of the new Rogue legendary card, Flick Skyshift, which, when it targets Shivala, destroys all Shivalas wherever they are, including ones in the deck, ones in the hand, everywhere. So the Paladin has to not play Shivala until they are ready to win the game that turn. That's where things get tricky.
Derek's, one of his amazing analogies came to light yesterday, where he described this match of the Paladin as those old games where you used to have like the twisted metal that was electrified and buzzed if you touched it with the metal with a ring, and you had to move the ring around the twisty turny metal and then try and get it to the other side, and if you touched the metal at any point it went buzz buzz and you lost. And he said basically the Paladin in this matchup is like playing the twisty turny ring game.
Okay.
Which was much better than talking about points of balance of pencils, but
Okay.
it gets to the point because it's got to do one thing, then it's got to go another way and do another. So first of all, it's got to not die, then it's got to not lose its Chevalars, then it's got to actually execute, and all those things result in Paladin having to play the twisty-turny ring game.
I believe the victory that we saw before was a result of Shivala actually being very low in the deck, and the player was able to Holy Wrath when the Shivala was the only card in the deck before it was bankered, just to deal the first 25, and then the rest of the damage was quite easy to deal.
I'm just going to check with you, Falk. Have you lost pictures for the time being?
Yes, I have a frozen image.
Me too.
Hopefully we'll get that one sorted in a minute. For the meantime, I'm going to look at the stream and have a little bit of delayed analysis here.
Yeah. So setting up the True Silver, ready to try and remove things as they come along. And the Apothecary is pretty useless. They have drawn both of their Death Rattle minions here.
So they just didn't combo it out, just played it. And Fung's reaction to that makes it look like he thinks it was a mistake. He had a little smirk when the Apothecary was played there.
I mean, these games were played last Sunday.
Look.
And I suspect there's not a player in Hearthstone who, if they're honest with themselves, hasn't at least once done this by mistake.
Just because us UK casters admitted to have done it by mistake once or twice or 3 times or 4 times or 5 times doesn't mean that Ball Control and Dead Draw would do that.
Yeah, but the more Hong Kong will think about it, the more they'll realise they now know there's a Cairn and a Mechanical Whelp in hand, which sure, you've got around the tough part, but they're actually pretty good cards against Paladin, who rely on AoE to remove minions. So what we've seen is the Rogue deck playing lots of small things, then playing either the Cairn or the Whelp alongside, and saying, okay, well, if you clear this board, which you have to do, you're still going to be facing a 7-7 or a 4-5 afterwards.
All right, we have our feed back. Excellent. So,
One shot.
moving on a little bit. Oh no, we have another frozen image again. Never mind.
Yeah, there you go. Pizza Party in chat is admitting that did it first 5 times they played it.
Oh, not just me then.
Not just you, not just me, not just Darek. I think we've all done it. So, Paladin doing the Paladin things, not a lot to say. They're trying to draw as many cards as they can. Get to the end of that deck as quickly as possible. And meanwhile, the United Kingdom, they haven't got their flick. We talk about that being a big deal. If the Paladin draws quickly enough, you can get to the end game before the Rogue has drawn their flick. That is a possibility. United Kingdom also really don't want to play Cairn or Mechanical Whelp here. They'd rather save that for the wide board I was talking about. But they have no other minions to play.
Okay, I think we have our feed back. So Cairn now being played. Board control just getting some pressure onto the board. Fung picks up Baleful Banker. And now, honestly, there's not all that much that Fung can do. He's in that position which Paladin do tend to get to in the sort of early to mid game, which is I can draw some cards, and that's really about it.
Yeah, this is going to work nicely for them. They are going to draw a lot of cards and deal with a Cairn. Obviously, now they'll realise it wasn't a mistake from Board Control. I didn't actually check Board Control's face when he played the Apothecary. I don't know if he sort of tried to pretend that it was a mistake. That would be quite interesting to see. Given the players can see each other. So many issues here for Board Control.
We're really struggling to see this deck invoking.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're just going to throw Galakond out there because their hand is pretty mediocre at best, and just get themselves some lackeys and try and put pressure on that way.
In fairness, aren't there only 3 invoke cards in the whole deck? Praise Galakond. Plays Galakond, Seal Fate, and Shield of Galakond. It doesn't even run the 4-mana Rush, the Maniac. So yeah, there's literally only 3 invoke cards in the United Kingdom's deck. So that Galakond is never, ever going to get both upgrades. So the best the Board Control can hope for is drawing 2 cards that cost 0. That strikes me as a little bit odd, honestly.
Yeah, it is just a thing where you do get some tempo, you do get some Dr. Boom effect, if you like, because you're drawing a lackey a turn. It's not exactly Dr. Boom Mad Genius, but yeah, it's a mini version. And you get access to Alex Straza, which is the big deal. And you get access to Kronks as well. Now I'm reminded, now they've drawn it, which is also a big deal.
That's true. Just strange to me they couldn't find the space to put in Maniac, or just, as one last invoke card. But alas, we'll have to see if it works out for the United Kingdom, as they once again have a kind of awkward looking turn. I wouldn't be too surprised if they did just go ahead and play the Galakond now. They need to play it at some point.
Yeah, the trouble is, like when they didn't do it last time, I realised they just haven't done any damage, and you can't give Paladin this sort of time. There's only 9 cards left in Hong Kong's deck, and they've done no damage yet. I really want to take Blessing of Kings and just sort of hit face here, to be honest.
I mean, Blessing of Kings is a really nice pickup.
I'll go deal with their health gain first, which allows them to get their weapon active. Okay, that will be able to proc the Divine Shield next turn now. When Crystal Smith's replayed, so okay, that works out. This sort of deck we've talked a lot about Dead Draw, what sort of decks he likes. This is right in Board Control's wheelhouse. Very tempo orientated deck. This is what Boar excels at even more than his usual play.
And again, it's just a mess to look at an OTK Paladin's hand at this stage in the game, where you have to calculate how many cards do I have in my hand, how many cards can I afford to draw, how many cards until I mill something, do I care about milling something, what are the chances of milling something important? He's just going to go into Holy Wrath, the Henge Clan Burglar.
Yep, that's one way of getting out of that mess, I guess. The hand mess you were describing. Because Rogue doesn't have much, if any, healing, so you do only need the one Holy Wrath later. So
Now,
going through to your last 2 cards.
this is a good draw. As far as draws go, this is a good one. This is about as mediocre as Fung's was in the last series, but that seems fine. You know, 0 mana 4/5 that clears the opponent's board when it dies. Cool.
Yep. It's just the thing. It's a 0 mana 4/5. Rest is incidental, really.
Yeah. A card that can't be targeted by spells and hero powers. Okay, yeah, it's not safe against a quality Pyromancer or Consecration or whatever, but it's something. It's pressure.
Yeah, it's the numbers, right? Because the way that Paladin clears boards is basically almost all AoE. There's 1 or 2 bits and pieces, but
This timeline.
they've reached a decision here just to go for it. They will have a 7/7 if the clear is an AoE one from the well. They've kept out this Blessing of Kings though, so quite a lot of burst damage available to the United Kingdom. And Hong Kong really need to deal with this, obviously. That is a timeout on the left, right? Next to the Zephyrus.
Yes, it is.
So that is an option available to them.
I mean, Hong Kong are getting close. They really are.
Yeah,
There's
especially
no
we can see there's no flick, so...
There's no Shivala in the hand, so it's just a 1 in 6 for lethal right now if Fung wanted to go for it. And there's no need to just go for it right now.
Yes, well, yes and no, because you can still draw it, of course, but yeah. It may depend how much they've spent on spells. My instinct is they haven't spent that much on spells compared to normal.
Yeah. Well, it costs 4 now, so yeah, that's true. But now it's fine, because a timeout next turn, it costs 1.
Yeah.
Just hang on for a little bit longer, and then just win the game.
Yeah, they're going to likely win it, and definitely have a shot at winning it. Yeah, if they get to the point where they are dead on the next turn, they're going to have something like a 50-50, depending exactly how their card draw goes.
The problem for Hong Kong now is that Galakrond increased Ball Control's health up to 26. So now a single Holy Wrath is not lethal anymore.
Yeah, that's a really big deal, actually. Although there's a quality consecration for a clear or a virtual clear next turn.
There is. That's true.
That
And
does a 2
obviously
to
the
the
consecration.
face.
Yeah, it hits face for 2.
So yeah, quality consecration for Hong Kong, followed by whatever their odds are of killing United Kingdom if needed. And that's assuming United Kingdom can reload. They do have Kronks, Eviscerate, and Blessing of Kings available. They can't do that all in one turn, not quite, but they will have a 7/7 left over as well. But against that, there's Zephyrus on the other side, who is yellow and ready to go.
Hong Kong are just so close. Timeout gone though, so it pretty much has to be a quality consecration here.
I wonder.
A quality consecration prismatic lens, doesn't that just get Fung there? Depends what the last couple cards in the deck are.
Yeah, and that's assuming they haven't got a better Zephyrus plan. Sometimes
Oh, sorry, there's a death battle on the board. A quality consecration
almost out
does
of
leave
cards.
a 7/7.
7/7 there, but then that's not the end
Yeah.
of the world.
Exactly, yeah. It can be Blessing of Kings, which is obviously 11. Kronks would make that up to 16 if they went directly to face. It's not enough to kill them.
So now Zephyrus into Nova is just enough to freeze this board.
If they get the freeze...
Oh no!
That happened yesterday.
It
That's
did
why I
happen
said if they get
yesterday.
it, if it's not lethal, then it doesn't always offer the freeze. And we saw that happen yesterday.
Oh, that's a
And
disaster. This
that is
game
an
seems
absolute
so
mess.
Florinda, but now with Kronks, with the +2/+2 and everything.
That's 15 plus 8 is
24, I
23. There's Eviscerate and Blessing available. You can't play both of those two cards.
Kronks, Shadow Step, Kronks.
Okay, that does it. That does it. That would be 31 points of
Oh
damage.
my
rising.
goodness, Kronks, Shadow Step, Kronks is lethal? Are you kidding me?
If they remember the +2/+2 option. Because it's so easy to forget because you always use it to do 5 damage to face. And that wouldn't be lethal.
Okay, the Kronks is coming down. Oh,
Yeah, he's just hovered over all the minions, so he's counting.
there are animations to think about though. Oh,
Oh,
is this a different lethal?
I'm going to assume so, but I'm not sure.
No, but it's healed. He's healed himself.
Right.
So, it does seem that the United Kingdom missed lethal that turn. However, this should be safe. They've got 26 health. Zephyrus has been, 31 health. Zephyrus has been used. So even Shivala, Banker, Holy Wrath is only 25 damage. Consecration would be 27 damage.
So they found a line that works, in fairness. Because they know the hand. Obviously, when you're playing against Paladin, you always know their hand by the end of the game. Which is when it matters that you know their hand. So I think as soon as they found something that won the game, they probably didn't look for the insta-kill.
To be fair,
A win is a win.
Kronk Shadow Step Kronks is a very weird lethal.
Yeah, especially as I say, like, nobody uses Kronks for the buffs.
It's not.
They do now, but yeah.
It's not typically the card that you would expect to be shadow stepping for a lethal, right?
Right. And if you are, it's for 10 damage, not for 16. Because you're expecting to go face with it twice. That's more... That's what's in your head as the player.
Stash that away. Let's stash that away.
But now they've got to...
Well, now they just have to outlast all of these Shivalas. They might just draw Flick. Now, oh
Or
my
draw
God, we
Flick!
win the game!
Oh, there's no justice. I'm a big ball control and dead draw fan, but there is no justice here.
Oh, man.
That was a punt, and the ball just bounced back towards him and gave him
The victory is
The victory
Wow.
is yours. Okay, Bork. Not sure what to say there. As obviously being for the United Kingdom myself, I'm happy to see them win. But wow, that was an interesting display.
Yeah, let's go with that was an interesting display. Leaving the Paladin and the Warrior versus the Paladin and the Warrior, but United Kingdom do have that control deck, whilst Hong Kong do have the Pirates.
On that note, we are going to go to a very short break, but when we come back, we'll be finishing up this series. Will the United Kingdom get past that potential little tilt barrier and get their way through this series, or will Hong Kong finally come back and punish the United Kingdom for their mistakes? Find out after this. We are back with Hong Kong versus the United Kingdom. The score is 1-1, and both teams have claimed the victory with their rogue. That leaves both teams with OTK Paladin and one team with Pirate Warrior and the other team Control Warrior. It's going to be the Paladin mirror now, Lorinda. Let's get in.
Oof. And United Kingdom, I believe, lost the Paladin mirror to Denmark yesterday, so they'll be looking to make good on that. And the short version of this very intricate matchup is that I believe the United Kingdom are not playing Sathravar. Let me just double check that, because I don't know what I remember from yesterday.
Right.
And I can't even remember my own name, let alone yesterday.
Yeah,
they're not playing Sathravar, so that's a big deal. So United Kingdom have only the normal way of winning it. Whereas in theory, Hong Kong have two ways of winning it, although all this AoE just isn't that useful. So dealing with multiple Chevalars is not as hard as you would think. And therefore you need to protect your timeouts, because the end of the game when you're both trying to win on combo is somebody timeouts, then the other team timeouts, then somebody timeouts, then the other team timeouts, and then the first person to use it is vulnerable, they're open goal. So trying to force a timeout out of the hand is something Hong Kong may be able to do, with the fact they're going to be able to get multiple Chevalars in play.
Hong Kong are running Subdue and Sathrovar. The United Kingdom are running instead a second Shrink Ray, and they are also running High Priest Thekal. They are the only differences with the deck.
Yeah, the Thekal is an interesting problem actually for Hong Kong to have to solve, because it gives the United Kingdom the opportunity, in theory, to get up to sort of 59 health. There's enough healing in the deck they can switcheroo and then start healing up from 1 while still having a huge amount of armor. A big deal if they could draw it, when it was the bottom card in their deck, along with the 2 Flash of Lights in the previous game they played with this mirror. But first of all, before any of that, we're going to get all the posturing of drawing cards as technically and accurately as possible. We will see both teams most likely burn cards like Consecration from their hand, just to make space for the future cards.
Deadjaw's hair is wild today.
I mean, he's had an entire 24 hours of his head being in his hands whilst mimicking ball control posture, I imagine.
He had very short hair, if I remember rightly, in Bucharest when we last saw him.
I think he had very short hair yesterday. I think he's aged overnight due to the pressure of becoming the Hearthstone Global Games champion.
Somebody has asked in Twitch chat if the Hong Kong team is just Fung. No, that is not the case. Both teams, every team in the Hearthstone Global Games is two players, but if they want to, only one player has to be on camera. That's just, we're not making both players be on camera if one way around works best for them. So no, there's 2 players on each team.
Yeah, he'll have Kin in his ear giving advice and help.
The light bends to my will.
So what do you dump? Like quite often, so for Hong Kong, it's an easy decision to just get the Crystal Smith out of hand. They're not expecting to need the healing as much, but because the United Kingdom are playing Thekal in their deck, it's a much bigger choice, because they're hoping that can heal them for a lot of damage, effectively turning health into armor if they do it that way. So not as trivial for the United Kingdom to just throw out their Crystal Smith.
I hope you like my invention.
And there it goes. No heals for you, Fung, with that thing.
Who the thing? Crystal Smith thing. You've been casting with me way too long, Fal.
Crystal thing. I don't
Definitely see a Consecration being launched here. You do want to keep the direct damage if you possibly can, though. So maybe they'll use the Pyromancer instead, but you might need that Pyromancer later on with Shrink Ray to deal with a potential board of Chevalars. That's not much fun.
This game is very much a case of both players trying to draw through their deck as quickly as possible, whilst just dealing five extra damage, so that the combo doing it once, fail for bankering in the Shivala, and into the Holy Wrath is just lethal. What did you spot?
Thekla was drawn now for the United Kingdom, so doing that extra damage is going to be very difficult for Hong Kong with just the combo. They might need to get the board to do this now, because the United Kingdom will start the process of, with 28 armor and 1 health, or basically of turning that health space available, that healing space, into actual health points that they can use.
Lorinda, apologies if I've been reacting to things a little slowly during this game so far. I just realised I've been looking at the stream, not our feed. So...
That's fine, I did that all through the last game. It's absolutely fine.
So now I'm looking in the right place.
What? You think you can take me?
Easy mistake to make.
Just how much we love you, chat. Spend all our time looking at you.
Oh, I haven't been
and here we
looking
go.
at that.
Look, this is why they didn't play Hypebeast Tech. Why they didn't play Crystal Smith last turn.
Absolutely.
Because that's just huge amounts of armor.
It combos beautifully with Thekla.
They didn't go total full greed on it though. Yeah, save it till the end and get extra flashes of light and such like. Just getting what they can out of it.
It's something, right? I mean, honestly, having 34 health in this matchup isn't a bad position to be in, given that a lot of that is armor. And Dead Draw is going to have the potential to heal up, even if it's through Shivala itself.
Yeah, and realistically, it's unlikely they get over 50, which would be the next break point. And even then, there's still Zephyrs to punt out the last sort of 6 damage with a fireball or whatever. So realistically, being nicely and comfortably well over 25 is the big deal. And I think it's a good piece of tech, personally, to have for these mirrors. You knew there were going to be a lot of Holy Wrath Paladins. There were 7 out of 8, and the other one was the New Zealand deck, which was designed to counter Holy Wrath Paladins. So they want cards, but they don't want too many cards, so they shrink ray their own Acolyte. Scared of overdrawing. Gives a little bit of information to Hong Kong, not they can do much with it. They now know that UK don't have all the required pieces.
It's that really complicated point in the game with all of this hand tension going on. Zephyrus not yet active for Fung. I mean, do you ever just equip the True Silver and smack it in the face? It's permanent damage because it's getting rid of armor.
They are 2 cards behind in the race to the end of the deck as well. So they do need to either make space or draw cards. So they are, the decision they made was, okay, we're going to try and draw 3 cards with this Acolyte. They will overdraw 1 card if the United Kingdom wants to force them to.
Yeah, but it's giving
But
them...
they don't need to, yeah.
It's giving them 2 extra cards in order to have them burn 1. It's not necessarily what they want to be doing. As we can see, most of the combo is already available. As long as Fung doesn't lose both Holy Wraths, he's got it.
Yeah, I think he used one earlier, actually, but...
That's true. Yeah, you're right, he did. Wait, was that this game?
I don't know. I lose. That's the trouble. You see so many games that eventually you're not sure which game.
One was used on a Hench Clan Burglar last game. I'm not
last game.
sure that one was used this game yet.
Okay. Yeah, there's always this brinksmanship with the Acolytes. Personally, I think giving them 2 cards just to overdraw 1 is usually not worth it, especially when they have chosen to go down this route.
Let me think. I must move quickly.
So my instinct would be to hit the Acolyte, but there's only 1 True Silver in the UK's deck. There's more healing still to come from Hong Kong, so you don't really want to waste that damage.
He did use one this game as well, apparently.
Okay. Thank you, person who helped with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Twitch chat. who I'm blindly believing right now, apparently.
Yeah, that's always a great spot to put yourself in, Falk. How could that ever end badly for anyone? Source, I am in Twitch chat quite often and lie a lot. Not them, me.
So yeah, if Fung burned the only Holy Wrath in the deck, then that would be a disaster. Otherwise, he's fine. He's got everything that he needs for the combo. Hammer of Wrath into the face right now, despite the Feckle play earlier. Dead Draw and Ball Control's health is going lower and lower. 27 effective health.
Yeah, it's always so close. Obviously, when you're doing 25 out of the starting 30, it's going to be, especially when both decks struggle to do actual damage. But as it stands, Hong Kong can go for it anytime they want.
I must move quickly.
And then you get this weird game where even if Hong Kong go for it, you almost always get this situation in the mirror where you're never that far ahead because the person who's behind can take a pot shot, have a 1 in 6, have a 1 in 7.
Speaking of pot shots, Dead Draw has a 50-50 now. Double Holy Wrath in hand, going to cast the first one. Finds
That's
the
26
Shivala.
points of damage.
And there you go. That brought that game to a very sudden ending as Dead Draw, take their second win of the series. They only need to win with their Control Warrior now, Lorinda.
Yeah, that puts them in a great spot, obviously. Control Warrior. People tell me it's favoured against Paladin, so I'm going to go, okay. I struggle to believe it, personally, but good players say it's true, so I'm going to go with Warrior is favoured against Paladin. Basically because they just armour up out of range. Blow up all the Chevalars, and that's the end of the game. And we are going to see that matchup first.
Now, we don't live in a world where Emperor Thaurissan exists anymore, which means that there's no way to discount the card to get that combo out twice in one turn, unless you get insanely lucky prismatic lenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something we saw, the approach you take with this, we saw yesterday, is basically start off with the Paladin playing for tempo. To fight the fact that the Warrior's trying to armor up every turn. If you just try and do your combo, the Warrior presses the armor button, doesn't do anything, and ends up out of range. So there's this weird thing that happens at the start of the game where the Paladin is trying to do 1 point of damage or 2 points of damage just to keep the armor down. And then there comes a point where you both suddenly realise that part of the game is over, and now you have to try and combo them. So we might see Kin fight for board for 2 or 3 turns here, and then go nutty earlier. You see, they're already using the hero power just to generate some action on the board. This is designed to try and keep the armor down in the long run. Kin and Dead Draw, just to point this out for those who don't remember, Bucharest finished 2nd and 4th respectively, which was enough to push Kin into Grandmasters and not enough to put Dead Draw into Grandmasters.
So there's a bit of a grudge match then, you think?
Yeah, a bit of a good. And also, United Kingdom have had a couple of strokes of luck in this, and just to say that, although I never wish anyone bad luck or good luck in this game, maybe things are balancing out very slightly with that happening as well.
One shot, one kill.
Reporting for duty.
So now we get this really weird game of Hearthstone where the health total matters even though you're not going to do anything that looks significant to it.
And it's already complicated for Dead Draw and Ball Control. Clearly, as you can tell by Dead Draw's expression and mannerisms right now, he wants to be dealing with these minions because these 2 minions just dealing 2 chip damage every single turn. It just counters the armor up. It just counters the hero power. So it's keeping Dead Draw's health low, and Dead Draw needs to be gaining armor, needs to be getting out of range.
Yeah, exactly. He was one of the most calm, unexpressive players I'd ever met until he met Ball Control. And now he's head in hand, head throw back. I blame this squarely on Boar and Billy. So yeah, not neglecting to at least try and draw some cards. Obviously,
Yep.
Hong Kong just trying to make the balancing act work.
Oh,
And again, ooh,
Hecklebot. So several good targets there. South Ovara is an okay target, but Shivala would be ridiculous. That would be game-winning.
Yeah.
Baleful Banker would also be good because it would mean the combo can only be played once. He doesn't know that both Baleful Bankers are in the opponent's hand.
Yeah, and UK so far, they've drawn Flick the turn they needed it. They've hit a 25 points of damage from a Chevalar. Why not Hecklebot the Chevalar out? What could go wrong? And already, I think Hong Kong have gone into card draw mode. They've done enough damage, weirdly enough. Not just the damage, but the fact that Dead Draw wasn't able to use the hero power. That they've seen the opportunity to sort of start to race through their deck.
I wonder. I must move quickly.
I hope you like my invention.
At the very least, Deaddraw and Walking Draw have stabilized now. There's not minions dealing chip damage every turn. So this armor that Deaddraw is gaining is actually being gained. It's not just being chunked off by the opponent. So shield block now for another 5 armor. Warpath available. I'm sure another hero power this turn. 2 Warpaths available. So that's if Kin tries to develop more cheap minions to just deal bits of damage, those Warpaths will put a stop to those.
And it just shows you how weird this game is when it's perfectly natural, obvious, and straightforward to put your 3-1 into your opponent's 1-1. It's
right.
Very weird looking play, but again, every point of health matters so much. You don't want that 1-1 hitting you in your face. Just getting rid of it is too important sometimes. Yeah, and the weapons projects are a big deal, obviously, because the armor doesn't help the Paladin. It just helps the warrior. They're also trying to make sure that when they do Hecklebot, they can actually kill the Chevalar, because that would be a disaster if you couldn't do that.
It looked like there was a consideration to play it right there, but holding back seemed smart, given they only had 4 mana to play it and then no mana after that.
As I choke on my water. Yeah, Billy just meowing in the background, waking him up. No, don't do that.
They need to play the Hecklebot when they're still able to hit in with the weapon and then kill it with Shield Slam. Even Hecklebotting out Zephyrus would be reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, you just do it. It's just a chance to win the game.
Yeah, there's
See what happens.
There's a lot of dove targets, a lot of the acolytes and the novice engineers and the cards like that.
A lot of them have been drawn though. I'm starting to think this is a thing that could happen more than just a bit of luck. I mean, they don't know what's been drawn. Obviously, from the UK perspective, they just take a punt at some point.
A lot of the minions in general have been drawn, exactly. There's still an Elven Archer somewhere. But there's not that much else.
Done.
And
Consecration, okay. It's got to be time for Deaddraw to go soon. It's very, very difficult to look at this game without using caster vision.
yeah, and from Hong Kong's point of view, they can afford to still burn things like consecrations and stuff, but they're just making sure they can kill it when it comes out. That's the main deal here. And now seems like a good time. Of course, don't forget that as far as they're concerned, it could already be in hand. So if there's better things to get on with, then get on with them. And from Hong Kong's point of view, they don't know that they're facing down Hecklebot, so they're not going to hurry to do anything different either.
To be fair, while Deaddraw can continue making plays like this, plays that gain him tons of armor and just push him further and further out of range of the Shivala combo anyway, then yeah, why risk playing Hecklebot when you can just stick to plan A and win the game that way?
So there's the Shivala. So Hecklebot is now not doing its thing anymore. At least not from where we're sat. Obviously, they're still going to look to play it sooner rather than later. Give themselves a chance of hitting the Shivala.
Reporting for duty.
But like you said, if you're controlling the board anyway, who cares?
Shivala has now been drawn, so that Hecklebot isn't going to be doing it, but 47 effective health, and Deaddraw is only going to gain more and more armor.
Yeah, and weirdly, this might be the turn they choose to launch it. Dr. Boom seems more likely. Yeah, Deaddraw just hovered over it, so next turn is go time, especially with this hero power.
Yep.
Get rid of the Divine Shield very easily.
Well, Deaddraw, it can rush in now as well, which now that Dr. Boom's been played, which makes it even more enticing to play that Hecklebot. That being said, Deaddraw may want to play the Armadillo first to buff up the Hecklebot.
Yeah, and I think they will. I think Ball Control and Deaddraw both very value-centric players in those tight decisions. They're also notably up to 53 now.
Yep, that is a survival of both the combos. So it's now just really the extra damage from Zephyrus that Deaddraw needs to worry about, or again, the bits of chunk damage in between, or the Shivala sticking around on the board and causing damage that way. So
yeah, it's 3 Shivalas sticking was the big problem now. Which they have Brawl in hand. So
or even more, thanks to Safarova.
Oh, now they get a free turn to populate the board. This is a big deal because this warrior deck does require some board presence to make sure it can kill things. It doesn't have that much removal, even though it always feels like it does.
That hot air balloon keeps popping up.
It really does. You don't really want your hot air balloon popping, but...
Have you ever been in a hot air balloon, Lorinda?
I haven't. Actually, I've been on a sort of fake one.
Of course you have.
In Vegas, they have a hot air balloon in Vegas that is basically a hot air balloon on a stick.
Okay.
So they sort of let you up to a certain height, and you have a bit of a look over the sort of scenes of Vegas, and they sort of wheel you back in. So it is a hot air balloon, but it's not really a hot air balloon. I like the of course you have. Because there's never a straight answer where I'm concerned. I've never done anything properly in my life.
Alright, Shivala number 1, followed up by the Safarova, just to try and take some board control here. The Shivala did still cost 1 mana, so the one that's being added to the hand now is unplayable, I believe. Yep. So Kin gonna be able to clean the board with what he's got, and now he has some pressure. There's no Warpath to follow up with Plague of Wrath with the Deaddraw, so he's gonna have to... I mean, I guess he could go Reckless Mummy, charge both in, Shield Slam, and Plague of Wrath to deal with everything.
He's got Super Collider.
Super Collider, but do you want to take the damage? I guess you can take 5, hit into the Safarova, Shield Slam the second Shivala.
Yeah.
Or Restless
Have
Mummy.
you been in a hot air balloon?
I have not. Been on an aeroplane.
Really? What's that like?
Once or twice.
Alright, what's going to win the brawl? Doesn't really matter because it's getting blown up anyway.
Okay, and Reckless Mummy to deal with that. I like that. Restless Mummy, rather. Restless Mummy. Holy Wrath now picked up. So full combo in Kin's hand, but he needs to wait until he runs out of cards. He only has the 1 flash of light in order to draw cards.
Yeah, but he's also going to... That does get the Chevrolet down to 0 as well. weirdly. He hasn't actually got any other way of doing that without wasting an equality.
Maybe it's Zephyrus into Tyrion this turn?
Zephyrus into Tyrion. That's tempting. Tyrion's really good. Ashbringer is superb, obviously, at doing damage.
I must move quickly. Your wish is my suggestion.
Yep. So that's where he's going to go.
Just not that much else going on this turn, but getting this down, Tyrion is very hard to deal with, and like you said, the Ashbringer sticks around. However, Deaddraw did just hover over that weapons project.
Yeah.
What's the cleanest way to do this?
Hero power.
Well, the hero power
Pops
helps a
shield.
lot.
Okay then.
There's so many good ways of doing this.
Hero power.
Actually, there's so many bad ways of doing this.
Hero power shield slam weapons project works.
Yeah, they just bump into the 3-2 with your face and
Yep.
you're down to 50. They would love it to go down to not 50 though.
Well, that's fine. Kin isn't going to have lethal this turn. He really doesn't want to make this. He's thinking to himself, can I just play Hecklebot and charge that in? Is there any downside to that? I'm amazed he's still
Yeah.
holding on to it, honestly.
I love that fuse thing.
Play it, and then if Shivala comes out... Oh, no, he can't actually pop the Divine Shield. Never mind, he can't.
I mean, maybe there's a world where the Chevalier gets put back in early because they have to go for a Holy Wrath and then you can eat it that way.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying it's a very likely world, but maybe it's better off in that
Well,
world than it is as a minion on the board.
The problem is there's one in the hand and one in the deck right now because of Sathrova.
Yeah, it's a very obscure
Hmm.
world. A bit like the one I live in.
56 effective health for Deaddraw. Kin has the weapon damage, that's 2, so that's 54 health he can get him down to. But after that, there's no clear-cut way to start reducing Deaddraw's health.
Like to play with fire? Let the pain speak to me.
Yeah, and 56 is just getting to the edge of out of range. It's not quite there. But they're going to need some damage from somewhere
Move quickly.
that isn't just the obvious 25s.
I hope you like my invention.
Otherwise, United Kingdom might get to the final of HGG. I hope I sound sufficiently surprised at that.
I mean, it's been a long time coming, but we've had some pretty great performances from the United Kingdom, especially last year and obviously this year.
I think we had a pretty dire performance in 2017, to be perfectly
Yeah, 2017 was not good, but 2018, you know, they very almost made it to the finals. I mean, they even made it to BlizzCon, even though they weren't able to compete.
I think Romania will never forgive the United Kingdom for the first HGG, where all UK needs to do is not lose 3-0.
Yeah.
So they proceeded to do with style against Peru, I believe it was.
It's time to test your mettle.
All right, here's all the things.
They're both on the board now. Given
So
that
if they can get rid of them,
given that very poor timing for Kin playing the one from the hand, well, yeah, I mean, he can just get rid of them. He can just weapon into the Divine Shield, kill it with a Hecklebot. That is GG.
I'm almost out of cards.
you know, just check we haven't done anything silly like Mr. Chevalier being bankered back in, but there's 2 bankers in hands. That seems unlikely even for us.
Yeah, with 47 health remaining, that's it. Kin gives it up. The United Kingdom, first finalists in the Hearthstone Global Games 2019. And that was an odd series, to say the least, but in the end, United Kingdom got there. They are deserved finalists. They fought really hard over the last few weeks, and I'm personally really excited to see them there.
Yeah, I'm particularly happy for Deaddraw. He's had an incredible year, 2 top 8s from the 3 Masters Tour events that happened. Didn't manage to get enough in either of those 2 events, having reached the top 8 to get into Grand Masters. And so it would be very nice to see Deaddraw pick up the win here in HGG to cap off what is a deserving year, not just a deserving tournament. And obviously, Ball Control built his stream up through the year. Ongoing solid player. Always nice to see Ball doing well, but he's already won a big major in Seat Story last year, so he hasn't got quite the same pressure that Dead Draw might have.
So we are one semi-final match down, one semi-final to go. Then we've got the third place match, and then the finals. The United Kingdom is the first Hearthstone Global Games finalist. Who will be the second one? Will it be Japan or will it be Denmark? We'll find out in the next series coming up.